April signing day means new faces to Nebraska athletics, and especially for Coach Fred Hoiberg's squad. So how will these new faces get Nebraska back into the Big Ten basketball picture? We've got all the answers and more on this signing day special of Husker Sports Weekly. All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Husker Sports Weekly, your soon-to-be number one source for all things Husker sports. My name is Connor Clark, and I'm joined by three soon-to-be Huskers just like myself, Quinn Navarra, Jarrett Mitchie, and Naren Narsiman. And we have a lot of signing day news and basketball to talk about here on the show, since it is basically the only sports news going around during this quarantine period. We'll be breaking down the newest signees for Fred Hoiberg's program, and we'll be looking at how the rest of the Big Ten did with signing day and how they're doing overall with recruiting in general. So just some kind of quick facts for Nebraska heading into the season with recruiting-wise. According to 24/7 Sports, they're ranked 87th in the country, 14th in the Big Ten, which is good enough for last place, unfortunately. Bringing in 2 JUCO commits and 3 transfers. And then there's a lot of big replacements that need to be made, but I think Coach Hoiberg's doing a good job with replacing these players. 5 of them left, Cam Mack, Deshaun Burke Jr., Hanif Cheatham, Gervais Green, and Matej Kavas. So those are big replacements that need to be made, but there are a ton of good transfer talent that's coming in for Nebraska this year. So far, Hoiberg, with his first kind of real year-round recruiting, I'd say he's been doing pretty good.
Oh, for sure. For the first time, these are all of his guys that he's starting to implement into his next year's team instead of having Miles as guys. And honestly, I'm excited with what I see.
Mm-hmm. And all these guys are, super versatile. They can play multiple positions. They're going to play Hoiberg's offense, which is, a really versatile offense that can spread out the floor and shoot. And all these guys are really versatile players, which is going to be a good addition.
Yeah, Teddy Allen, he's a transfer from Western Allen Community College, averaged 31.5 points per game last year on 51% shooting. Also averaged 7.4 rebounds, 3.7 assists. So obviously really good stat line. Yes, it's coming from a JUCO, so obviously that 31 points will most likely not transfer over to the Big Ten. But, they're getting a really good player. Was at West Virginia and Wichita State too.
100%.
So
Coach
Hoiberg seems to be pretty high on him.
The forwards look great.
And
I was
looking
looking
at
Teddy Allen for quite a little bit. Watching his stats
for
and everything.
sure. I'm telling you right now.
He's athletic.
Teddy Allen
and he's a good forward, and that's what we need. He can stretch the floor, but he can also, bring the ball up, and it's super nice to have him.
On the Wood and Watch.
Oh, right out the gate, a Wood and Watch player.
Yep, and also other than that, you can hear all about his offense, and it's 31 points per game average, but he also played under Bob Huggins' defense, which is a big thing because Bob Huggins really
press Virginia.
Defense.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, for sure. Wichita State is a good, despite being in a group of 5 conference, they're still a really good program year in and year out. They're consistent tournament team. They were most likely going to make it this year as well. So that's a very good pickup. Then moving down the list here.
I don't know. I used
got
to
Lat
when
Man,
I was in middle
averaged
school.
11.8 points per game last year.
I forget what year that was.
Former TCU players coming from Chipola College.
But, they were ridiculous.
And this is another big pickup. Quinn, I know you're pretty high on him as well. But he's got 2 years of eligibility.
Like I said, he gets up and down. He plays well.
What do you got for him?
And who knows?
I've watched a little bit of his games.
It just looks great for us. And
the dude runs the floor better than any forward I've seen. when you're 6'9" and 205 and you're sprinting down in transition, getting buckets left and right, you're a pretty high major player. I mean, he played at TCU under a pretty good coach. I think his name's Dixon or something like that. He was at Pittsburgh for a little bit. But the dude averaged 11.8 points per game, and he was dropping double-doubles left and right at JUCO level. Like I said, it's the JUCO level. Like, anybody can be anybody. But the dude is a true stretch four, and he's going to spread the floor for us in Nebraska, and he's going to score on nights, and he's going to rebound well for us.
Yeah, not only that, he's super – like, he's tall and he's, like, skinny. But the thing is, he gets double-doubles, and he's still going to get rebounds for you. So he's going to still be that interior post player that you need, but he can also stretch the floor, which is going to be huge for Fred Hoiberg's offense.
I think he's healthy. Honestly, I think he's good. He looked really good on film when he was at Chipola. I saw some. I don't remember what he was really battling at TCU, but I think he's over and he's really healthy now.
Yeah, and just kind of looking at his stats, I agree with you, Quinn. Just looking at his stats from last year, he's got a full season under his belt too. And I mean, he almost averaged 12 points a game, 46% field goal percentage. Also averaged 8 rebounds. So yeah, I feel like he's going to be pretty healthy coming into Nebraska.
And, yeah, seeing that he was the number 1 player out of Australia in 2017, I mean,
just from the other side too.
They've
in
done
your
a
guys'
pretty
opinion,
good job
battling the
coming
injuries
over
at
to the
TCU
college
like
level,
he
so
did, is that
I'm
gonna
excited
affect
to
his
see
game
what
now?
Vlad does for us next year.
Yeah.
And then we'll move into the Division I transfers. Pretty familiar name here from the Big Ten, coming from Wisco, University of Wisconsin-Madison. Kobe King averaged 10 points a game last year, started a little bit for the Badgers as well, so he's coming over from Wisconsin. This was a big pickup. When I first saw this, I got really excited about it. As I said, he averaged 10 points a game, shot 45% from the field, averaged almost 3 rebounds and 1.5 assists. So this is a great pickup for Coach Hoiberg and his program, and a really good guard, as we talked about earlier, just filling in for Cam Mack, Deshaun Burke, and those guys. So this is going to be a really big replacement piece.
I definitely agree. He's 6'4", 205, so we're going to see him playing from about 2, and if we want to go small, 2, 3, and we can see him playing the 4 a little bit if we want to go small. But when I saw him leave the team in January from Wisconsin, I did not think he was going to go to another Big Ten school. Honestly, I didn't think he'd want to be around the Big Ten anymore, but the fact that Hoiberg and his staff grabbed this guy, this dude was dropping 12.6 points a game against Big Ten opponents, and the Big Ten was the best conference last year.
Yeah, and Hoiberg already thinks that he can work really well in the post. So, like how Quinn was saying, like the small ball lineup for him, like playing the 3 or 4, he'd be really physical, and he's a super strong player, which is going to work well too. And also, Hoiberg thinks that he can be a reliable 3-point shooter, even though he shot 25%. Just looking at his form, you can see that if he works on his mechanics a little bit more, he can get to the level to be an elite 3-point shooter.
Yeah, that's going to be a big thing for Nebraska this year. 3-point shooting
wasn't
the
just looking
best
at it as well. I mean,
last year as well as free throw shooting. So hopefully
against Big Ten opponents last year, he averaged 12.6 points per game, which is huge. I mean, that's a good, solid starter, and I think that'll be very beneficial for us, especially saying that he's still in the
moving down the list as well. We got another Kobe coming from Western Illinois University, 6 foot, 160 pounds. Averaged 17 points a game, 41% from the field, 3.2 rebounds, 3.6 assists. He's got 1 year of eligibility left. I was able to watch a little bit of film on him, and I did like what I saw. He was a really shifty guard. He's not the tallest of guys, standing at 6 foot. But, I mean, he averaged 17 points per game at the Division I level. So that's a little more promising than seeing that at, say, the JUCO level or Division II school. So I'm pretty high on this guy. I think Kobe Wester's going to make an immediate impact, and it'll be fun to see what he does.
You are looking at our point guard next year, folks. Kobe Webster from Western Illinois, 1,000-point scorer for Illinois. He's in the 1,000-point club at a D1 level. And in 3 years, the dude is averaging 17.1 points per game. What else can you ask for him? honestly, Hoiberg's big thing this year in this recruiting class was getting scores, and he got exactly what he wanted.
And to add on with that, especially the experience, that plays a big factor because most of these guys haven't played tournament games, and him being a graduate transfer and having 3 years of starting experience is going to be big for Hoiberg's offense, and he can really be a leader for this Cornhusker team next year.
And arguably what I think might be the biggest pickup of the offseason, you could make a case for Kobe Webster, Kobe King, but Trey McGowan's coming from Pitt, 6'4" guard, averaged 11.5 points last year in the ACC. He dropped 30 against Florida State in his freshman year. I mean, the ACC, it's always good year in and year out. You're never going to expect anything less from the ACC to be good. So he's a really good guard. Again, when I saw this for the first time on social media or wherever anybody gets their news, I was extremely impressed with Hoiberg and how he was able to get this transfer, because that's huge, especially coming from the ACC. And it just got me kind of excited and saying like, oh wow, this program could really take almost a 180 turn in just a year. And in Coach Hoiberg's second year, I mean, this team could look totally different. You see all these different names coming in here, but just like record-wise and standing-wise, I mean, this might not be a Nebraska team that will be towards the bottom, but maybe towards even the middle in just 1 year's time.
If Trey McGowan gets the waiver to play immediately, we are looking at a whole new Nebraska team. This is one of the most electric players in college basketball right here, folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when I was watching the Florida State game, this man is so explosive. He gets to the rim so quick, and I just remember him. He just kept getting and one after and after, and like that's the reason why they upset Florida State that year.
Yeah, and I mean, if the Big Ten keeps up with the difficulty that it has shown throughout the rest of the country, middle of the pack Big Ten gets you into the tournament. I mean, 11 teams were going to make it to the tournament this past season if there were to be a tournament.
At it too. I mean, the 1.9 steals a game.
Big Ten, there's no nights off, especially even in a 20-game schedule, which is really crazy. But I mean, this is a Nebraska team that
I watched this video right before
really,
we started here, and
I mean, change the image of Nebraska basketball.
Turn the game around right away, or you can
when you think of Nebraska, you think football.
Keep the momentum, and
this is going to be a big year for Coach Hoiberg in his second year. So now we're going to look at some 2019 transfers that had to sit out last year. Just kind of preview them, get you more familiar with them as well. First guy on our list is Delano Banton from Western Kentucky. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. He's from Toronto, Canada. He averaged 3.4 points, 3 rebounds a game, and shot 40% from the field. His best game was against number 15 Wisconsin in 2018-19 when he had 8 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists. So this is a 6'8" guy who's going to not necessarily score a bunch, but he's going to do the dirty work for you, rebounds, assists, and all of that.
We just need efficiency this year. We need every player that comes in to be efficient and not bring the team down. And honestly, I think we're looking at a really good team next year for Nebraska.
Yeah, you need everyone to play your role, and it's going to play a big part in your team winning. And that's like mainly the reason why we didn't win last year. And that's why we're seeing so many guys transferring out of Nebraska. But like with all these players that we're bringing in, they bring in great leadership, great scoring. They do all the stuff that they need to. And this could be a really big turnaround for Nebraska.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
I mean, 100% with that as well. I mean, what Connor said, the dirty work is huge. If you don't have a player who will do the dirty work, get down, get the rebounds, kick it out, and, get the set back going. And it's just you're not a very good basketball team, and it's good to have someone like that for us, 100%.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Naren. Just kind of, he's got to do what he's got to do. Efficiency is definitely a big thing. And then, as you said, obviously, team didn't really feel too together on the floor at some points in the season. A lot of people kind of pointed out Cam Atkinson
when we were talking earlier, we were talking about
selfish
the big
player,
names that
which
have transferred in.
Did set the team back a little bit, although he did have a really good season.
I mean, role players like that.
It was just kind of a negative point for
especially you can have
the Husker program.
The
next guy we have is Shamil Stevenson, also from Pitt. He was a 3-star coming out of high school. Averaged 3.8 points per game, 1.8 rebounds, shot 58% from the field.
It's looking good for us.
And I'm kind of excited to see how he's going to pair up with Trey McGowan's, just considering they're coming from the same college, so they were in the same system. Despite being in the same system 2 different times, but they could definitely develop some chemistry real quick.
He's definitely going to be another guy that comes in for us, and he's an efficient guy. He's going to shoot the ball well. He's going to rebound for us. He's going to score when needed, but just an efficient guy.
And then finally, we have, from 2019, that is, Derek Walker from Tennessee, also a 3-star. Didn't get too much playing time at Tennessee, but he's a big guy. He's 6'8", 235 pounds. And it's a good backup for Udraogo to have in going into his sophomore campaign. Obviously, we saw him have a really good freshman season. But obviously, he's not going to be able to play all 40 minutes of every game, so it'll be good to have a backup because this is going to be a team that needs size. I mean, you're going up against really good bigs night in and night out in the Big Ten. It doesn't get easy no matter who you're playing.
I agree with that as well. I mean, he looks great. Is that
you need the depth, especially at the center and power forward position in the Big Ten. So I really like this pickup.
In this class and these transfers that are now going to be able to play, we finally have the depth, efficiency, and the potential that we need to turn around in basketball.
Yeah, and he also fits in well again with the offense. Like, he can play that center position, that small ball lineup, which is going to be really big.
Yeah, and I mean, when you go against guys like, say, Luka Garza, for example, National Player of the Year candidate, you're gonna need depth, especially at that position. That's the way that this team's going to get better as well. I mean, you can't get out rebounded in the Big Ten. That's basically the kiss of death. You're just plain and simple. You're not going to win games if you don't get rebounds in the Big Ten. So, moving on to the rest of the Big Ten, we're going to go kind of from top to bottom here, ranking wise, recruiting class in the Big Ten Conference. First off, we got Michigan, ranked 12th in the nation. And ranked first in the Big Ten, they have Hunter Dickinson, Zeb Jackson, Terrence Williams, Jace Howard, and Mike Smith, a transfer from Columbia. They lose Isaiah Todd and Josh Christopher, who just committed to Arizona State, and then Isaiah Todd decommitted to go pro. So those are big losses for Michigan. I mean, they were going to have a top 10 recruiting class with those 2 guys, but they end up losing them both in the same week, so that's got to be a big blow for all Michigan fans.
All Michigan fans are probably... Yep. Oh, go ahead, Naren.
I was going to talk about Josh Christopher. He was a huge loss for Michigan. Like, he is a big-time playmaker, and it really sucks that Arizona State got them, but Michigan's going to be at a loss now because that's going to be a void for them.
Well, every Michigan fan was probably thinking that the Fab Five was happening again. And look what happened. Todd decides to probably go to the G League now and make about $500K in 1 year, and Christopher decides to join his brother at Arizona State, and Nebraska is going to beat Michigan every single year now. I'm calling it right now.
I'm going to sweep them. Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be amazing.
That would be great.
And then moving down, Illinois ranked second in the Big Ten, ranked 15th in the country, coming off of a good season after a couple of years of struggling. Their commitments are Adam Miller, 4-star, Andre Curbelo, another 4-star, Coleman Hawkins, a 4-star, and then Austin Hutcherson, who's a transfer from Wesleyan. He's got to sit out next year due to transfer rules. They lose DJ Stewart, 5-star shooting guard. He committed to Duke, and he's from Chicago, so an in-state guy lost to a blue blood program.
I bet that hurt Illinois just a little bit. Honestly, there's so much talent in Chicago that I've seen come out that Illinois does not get.
Yeah, I mean, Illinois, they're still kind of working their way back up to what they once were, but and then Io, and I'm not going to even try and say his last name.
Dustin Numa or something like that.
Yeah,
something
he's
like
going
that.
to the draft.
I don't want to embarrass myself. And then Kobe Coburn as well. They're going to lose him as well. So those are big losses from last year too. So recruiting and NBA is not helping them out right now.
And they got a decent recruiting class. I mean, you got 3 4-stars and a transfer.
As I've been growing up, back on the Illinois thing is as I've been growing up, you look at the 5-star recruits, and I feel like they usually end up at Duke from each recruiting classes, from what I've seen.
I mean, it's kind of hard to beat Duke in that recruiting scene anyway. I mean, you got Coach K, you got 5 national championships.
You flex it a little bit. You
really
flex it a little bit,
you
get what you want.
For sure. And then when you have one of the most historic venues in college basketball, it's really hard to beat that. So moving down the list, Wisconsin ranked 3rd in the Big Ten, number 22 in the nation. So good recruiting class for them after they somehow, someway clinched a share of the Big Ten title, regular season title that is, 3-way tie. They have Ben Carlson, a 4-star power forward, Lauren Bowman, a 4-star point guard, Johnny Davis, 3-star shooting guard, Jordan Davis, 3-star small forward, and Stephen Kroll, a 3-star center. So, I mean, they have 5 players, 2 4-stars. They're bringing back Brad Davidson, too, which will help out a ton. And they're coming off of a Big Ten regular season title, which many thought they would not get. So, Wisconsin somehow seems to be doing it again and again, and their success will not be going away this year.
Well, that's Wisconsin for you, is always getting guys that are not the 5-stars and the really big name 4-stars, but they get the average players that somehow turn out to be the best players in the conference. And Greg Gard always does a good job in recruiting since he's taken over at Wisconsin.
Yeah, it always seems like Wisconsin always gets like those 3-star players, but they really develop them and they all become like all have really good chemistry, and then they become a really good team. Like I think it was 2015, the year of Frank Kaminsky. Like that year, those guys weren't like super high recruits, but they all played really good together.
Him and
that was the year.
Decker,
yeah, that was the year they went. That was the year they played Duke in the championship, right?
Yeah, they beat Kentucky in the Final Four.
Kentucky was like, what were they, like 30-something and 0?
38-0, I think.
Yeah.
Was that the year that the Kentucky had the twin brothers too?
They had the Harrison brothers, and I think they had Carl Anthony Towns as well.
They had like
James Young, Carl Anthony. I'm actually a Kentucky fan. That was a big loss.
Oh. I mean, I would feel bad, but Kentucky's on the no-no list for me. I'm sorry.
They did that. They did get that guy from Sierra Canyon. Was it BJ Boston?
Yeah.
He is
electric. Oh my god. I watched him when he was here in Minnesota too. He was ridiculous.
Yeah, he'll most likely be a wouldn't-watch player too.
Yeah.
So Purdue ranked 4th in the Big Ten, ranked 26th in the nation. They got Ethan Morton, a 4-star shooting guard, Jaden Ivey, a 4-star shooting guard, and Zach Eddy, a 3-star center. But the storyline for Purdue, despite a 4th-ranked recruiting class and top 30 in the nation, Matt Harms is transferring, and this is news that hit the whole college basketball world as a surprise. And nobody really knows why he left. He's a dominant big in the Big Ten, over 7 feet. He had a great 3-year career at Purdue, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes. But this is going to hurt Purdue a lot.
I'm really
Go ahead.
I'm really big on Matt Harms because he might join Kentucky, and that'd be really big for them. Yeah, I'm excited for him if he comes.
He was most likely the best player on Purdue's team last year, and now they've lost him to a blue blood. in the transfer, and that's how things go. And I'm glad Purdue doesn't have their best player now.
I mean, yeah, it definitely helps us out.
He wasn't like too great on offense, wasn't a great shooter, but his impact on defense, he was a defensive anchor, and he no one would want to go up against him in the rim.
Those SEC schools can have fun against him.
Yeah.
Well, he also might go to Gonzaga as well. That's also on his list.
Yeah, I heard of that too.
Him and Jalen Suggs is talking right now, wanting to team up at Gonzaga.
Yeah,
Oh,
Gonzaga.
man.
I think Gonzaga is going to be preseason number 1. They are stacked next year, and they're going to have a lot of returning.
Yeah,
people.
for sure.
Top 3 is like Gonzaga, somebody in Creighton right now for like
Creighton's going to be
everybody.
unreal.
Yeah, Creighton's bringing everyone back.
100%.
Yeah, and also
Purdue's
Purdue's bringing got to recruit Zach Eddy, who's a 7'3" center too, and he played in IMG, and I actually got to see him in person when North played IMG, and in person, he is a monster.
What's with Purdue and wanting to get 7'5", 7'3"?
I know they always get the centers. They
like
always get the centers.
Well, I don't know what's with them or something. I think that I don't even know.
Big man.
They can't recruit that many guards, but they always get the good things. Man.
Yeah, first it was Isaac Haas, Matt Harms, now this guy. So could get ugly in the Big Ten, but who knows?
Yeah. And then Caleb Swanigan back in, I don't know, like 4 years ago, too. Yeah, he was a monster.
And then moving down, their rivals right behind them, ranked 5th in the Big Ten, ranked 31st in the country. They got Anthony Leal, a 4-star shooting guard, Jordan Geronimo, a 3-star small forward, and Trey Galloway, a 3-star shooting guard. They don't really have any big losses. They're keeping Justin Smith, which is a big one, and they'll probably make their way back into the tournament this year. They were fighting for, I think, they were either in the last 4 buys this year or in the last 4 in. So they're not losing too many people. They're gaining people, so I think they'll have around a 21 season. I think they'll make it back to March.
You think they're going to go back up to a 21 season?
I think so. They were at 19.
That is true.
I'll
give it to them.
It's going to be close.
I feel like Justin Smith is going to have the best season of his career.
I just feel like the Big Ten around them is just going to get better than them
that is
progressively,
true.
and
that could also
they're
be very
not
true.
going to. I don't. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm with Naren on that one.
They'll
I
be
think
an
they'll be
average
better
Big
and
Ten
just
team
all
again
around
like
that.
they
I
were
don't think
last year. They're 9 and
they'll be
11
a
in the
21.
conference, so
that really
I
hurt
expect
them.
them to be the same thing.
Yeah, because they had a really good non-conference record. I believe they started
100%.
8-0, and then conference hit. And that kind of happened for a good handful of teams.
Michigan too. Michigan weren't they number 1 in the country at one point last
They
year?
got into the
and then
top
they-
5 after not being ranked.
And then
They weren't ranked. Yes.
dropped.
Yeah, college basketball this past year was
Yeah,
extremely
they
odd.
went. Michigan went crazy in I think it was the Atlantis tournament.
Yeah.
And they beat Gonzaga in the final. Yeah.
Yeah, they won that. They played 3 top 15
And then
opponents
they
in a
got
row.
ranked top 10 after that, right?
Yeah.
It's
And
crazy.
the hype train was over after they lost 2 out of 3 to them. So that was that. And moving on to another Big Ten reigning champion, ranked 6th among Big Ten schools, ranked 36th in the nation, Michigan State. Tom Izzo, of course, going to have his name in the mix with his Michigan State team again. They got Matty Sikoko, Sioko, excuse me. Sikoko. He's a 4-star center. And then they got A.J. Hoggard, who is a 4-star point guard. They are going to lose Cassius Winston and Xavier Tillman, most likely.
Big losses.
Both big losses.
Yeah.
We're not
I think
100%
Tillman's
sure on
gonna be
Xavier
gone.
Tillman yet, but Cassius Winston was a senior this year, so he will be gone. And if Xavier Tillman were to leave, that would definitely hurt.
I feel like that would hurt, but at the same time, with Tom Izzo as your coach, I feel like the anchor is there, and I feel like this will be, even if without Tillman, a decent school.
Tom Izzo's always going to put together a really tough team. And last year they were 22-9 and 14-6 in the Big Ten, and I expect them to be the same thing as they were last year, honestly.
Is Aaron Henry leaving for the draft, or is he staying?
I'm not 100% sure. Can look that up.
Because, I remember Tom Izzo really incorporated him in the offense, and he was going to be a big part because he was kind of that X-factor player that they needed. So that'd be a big loss too.
Yes, I believe he went to the draft.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge loss. He was really the X factor for them.
Yeah.
And then you also saw, but you see big development from Michigan State. Like, Rocket Watts at the beginning of the year, he was a streaky shooter. And then towards the end of the season, he was putting up 20-plus games and shooting, 40% in some games. And he was lights out some games. He went off.
Yeah, Rocket Watts was definitely a big contributor to Michigan State last year. And then a name that I honestly love to see this high up in the recruiting ranks, Rutgers, ranked 7th in the Big Ten, 38th in the nation. They got Cliff, and I'm not even going to say that last name so I don't embarrass myself like I did last team. He's a 4-star center. They got Mawat Mag, who's a 3-star small forward. Dean Reiber, a 3-star power forward, and then Oscar Palmquist, who is unranked. So Rutgers coming off a good season. Still feel bad for them that they didn't technically make the tournament this year, but they're definitely headed in the right direction.
Oh, yeah, they were 11-9 in the Big Ten, so Rutgers must be doing something right. They must be feeding their players something in order for them to win.
Yeah, and being 7th in recruiting in the Big Ten, that's, huge. I did not expect that from Rutgers.
Yeah, the Rack, they're going to try and stay undefeated at home. Yeah, absolutely.
I've never seen Rutgers do that well than last year. They were 20-11.
That's true.
The last time they made the tournament was 1991, so it's been a while.
Yeah, I bet that felt pretty bad for them getting whole rest of college basketball canceled.
Yeah, I mean they were good this year too. They crushed Seton Hall. They had a lot of big wins at home. Obviously, they were 18-0 at one point at home, which was absurd. But they were terrible on the road. So
yeah, every team in the Big Ten was good at home, but while they were on the road, they couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
I remember
that is 100% true.
Yeah,
Big Ten road environments.
Big Ten road games.
Not fun.
Those are
not fun.
Yeah.
Minnesota is 8th in the Big Ten, ranked 52nd in the nation. Excuse me. They got Jamal Moshburn Jr., a 4-star point guard. Matrice Mitchell, a 3-star center. Brandon Johnson from Western Michigan, he's immediately eligible. And Leon Robbins, a transfer from Drake, and he's a pending appeal for eligibility. Big loss, Jalen Suggs, 5-star point guard, committed to Gonzaga, was number 6 in the ESPN Top 100, and he's from Minneapolis, Minnesota. So big loss there, hometown kid going out to the West Coast Conference. Out of all places, but it is Gonzaga.
I think with the Minnesota team, I watched, I tuned in a little bit last year, and they had a really good, decent team. They had that kid from De La Salle who's a great shooter. I think his name's Gabe. I forget his last name. He was an all-around good shooter. They have a decent basketball team, so we'll see. But I feel like they'll be bottom of the pile.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be.
I don't know.
Probably
I
just
haven't
going to
really
be
seen anything special from
rebuilding year for them. They might get a little bit better.
Anything other than good?
Who knows?
If the Robbins kid from Drake gets his waiver accepted for him to play immediately, I can see Minnesota being a team that can cause a little bit of chaos in the Big Ten Conference.
A little dark horse.
The Robbins kid was... I'm going to look up what he averaged last year, but he was pretty dang good for Drake.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were very surprised a part of the Missouri Valley were really surprised that he was leaving Drake.
Well, it's because his uncle is the assistant coach up there. He's the head assistant coach up there in Minnesota.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He averaged
that makes sense.
14 points a game with 7 rebounds.
Yeah, he was one of the best players in the Valley Conference. That's definitely a big gain for Minnesota.
And he's only a sophomore, so he's got plenty of potential there.
Definitely. And then Ohio State is number 9, ranked 60th in the country. They got commits of UG Brown III, 4-star shooting guard, Zed Key, 3-star power forward, Abel Porter, a transfer from Utah State, immediately eligible, and Seth Town, the transfer from Harvard, the number 1 graduate transfer in the nation. It was between them and Duke, I believe. Huge get for Ohio State, coming off of a pretty big season. Key losses: DJ Carton to the transfer portal, committed to Marquette in this past week, and then Luther Muhammad recently committed to Arizona State out of the transfer portal as well. But Seth Towns, that's a big get from Harvard, and Ohio State is definitely lucky to have him.
I just want to see how his game translates to the Big Ten Conference.
That's true. That's going to be a huge difference.
Because you're going from Harvard to a team that has a little bit of history in Ohio State, which is a bit of a jump.
Just a little bit.
Hey, I'll give it to him. Harvard was pretty good in their conference. 100%. They made it to a tournament just about every year.
Yeah, they were supposed to make it. They were going to represent the Ivy League.
Yep.
In the conference, or not the conference tournament, but the NCAA tournament, because their conference tournament got canceled. It was the first one to be canceled. Harvard's definitely an Ivy League team to look out for year in and year out. Penn State kind of finding themselves a little bit lower on the list. Ranked 10th among Big Ten schools, 61st in the nation. Coming off a pretty good season, something we're not really used to seeing from Penn State. They got Dalian Johnson, a 3-star shooting guard, DJ Gordon, a 3-star shooting guard, Vladimir Manuel, a 3-star center, Caleb Dorsey, a 3-star small forward, Sam Sessoms, transfer from Binghamton, and he will sit out next year due to the transfer rules. So not anything too flashy for Penn State.
I think we'll just see a team that's going to sit at the bottom next year, honestly. I have a feeling that.
Hey, but it's always those 3 stars.
Yeah, they're just going to go next year. They're going to be role players. They're going to get minutes and just get their experience built up for the next coming years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Penn State had a really good year this year, but I think
I do agree with that. Just let the players develop.
Yeah, no Lamar Stevens, that'll hurt.
Yeah, Lamar Stevens was really big for them.
Iowa ranked 11th in the Big Ten, 62nd in the nation. Aaron Eulis, a 3-star point guard, is a commit. Tony Perkins, 3-star shooting guard. Josh Ogundele, a 3-star center. Keegan Murray, who's unranked, spent an extra year of high school at DME Academy, as well as Chris Murray, who is also unranked. And then we are currently uncertain whether or not Luka Garza will commit or stay with the team or declare for the NBA draft finalist for Player of the Year award. So that'll be huge for Iowa. They're probably going to be a good team either way next year, but having Luka Garza back for another year would be enormous.
I hope he goes, just so Nebraska doesn't have to deal with another painful loss from him. Honestly.
Absolutely.
And I've talked to Josh Ogundele before, and this team is honestly, they bring back at the least 4 out of their 5 starting players, I think, yeah. And then you still got these guys that are going to come in, these recruits. But Eulis is a really good point guard I've seen. And then
I'm liking him. Yeah. Aaron Eulis is Tyler Eulis' brother, and Tyler Eulis is a really good floor general, and he could play really good backup point guard his first year.
Moving on down to 12th in the Big Ten, Northwestern, coming off of a pretty underwhelming season.
I feel like floor
ranked
general
70th
point guards
in the country. They got Ty Berry, a 3-star, and Matt Nicholson, a 3-star center. So not too much going on in Evanston, Illinois. Northwestern coming off of.
I actually saw Ty Berry play, and he was pretty good. It was Sunrise. I think he plays for Sunrise Christian. I forgot the team he was playing, but they were a pretty good high school team, prep school too. And I think he scored like 15 that game, and he was a pretty explosive athlete. So he should be interesting to watch.
I only have a couple things to say about Northwestern next year. Bottom of the league.
I agree with that. Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, just watching them a little bit, because I've watched them a ton over the past 10-plus years just because they're down the street. But, I mean, they did show signs of life of what they could do with a young core. I mean, everybody transferred on Chris Collins last year. He was set up in a terrible situation last season. So, I mean, my friends and I were kind of skeptical if they were even going to, win 3 or 4 games, especially after losing their first game to a former D2 school. and then somehow beating Providence, and it was just a weird season. But yeah, I definitely agree they'll be towards the bottom, if not dead last in the Big Ten. And then other than Nebraska, ranked 13th. This is a name that kind of surprises me to be this low on the list. Maryland ranked 79th in the country. They got Marcus Dockery and Aquan Smart, both 3 stars, and then Jarius Hamilton, a transfer from Boston College, sitting out next year. Maryland also won a share of the regular season title in the Big Ten, but usually higher up on the recruiting list, so this is kind of interesting to see.
Oh, Maryland. 24-7 last year, and now their recruits, their national ranking for class, they're at the bottom practically in the Big Ten with Nebraska. Aquan Smart, though, watch out for that name next year. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Maryland, I think they're going to take a huge drop. They're losing Anthony Cowan and Jalen Smith, and those two definitely best players.
I mean, I agree as well. This Marcus Dockery.
Because I remember him. He was.
Can you guys hear me?
I think 12 a game. Like, who's going to, and especially in the Big Ten, you need bigs, and without him,
I was just saying, yeah, we should try Zoom, but I was just saying Marcus Dockery, I mean, he looks like a decent role player. I didn't see anything too special from him, points-wise, rebound-wise, but I mean, no matter what, as a 3-star recruit, I feel like you're coming in as a decent role player to try to develop, and we'll see how he does. Especially for the Maryland team, who obviously haven't been the best, and we'll see.
All right.
If he's talking, I'll let him finish his thought, just so we can include it.
Okay.
No, you're all good. Maybe Zoom will work better. Yeah, that'll finish out the Big Ten rankings signing day / recruiting wise. Michigan at the top, Maryland rounding out the bottom, and then Nebraska. Obviously, we covered them for most of the episode. So that'll do it for the signing day special episode. Lots of positives for Fred Hoiberg and his program going into year 2. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens comes this November and see what Nebraska can do and try and improve this year. So thanks for tuning in. You can catch us on YouTube, Spotify, and PodBean. Follow us on Twitter at Husker Weekly, and be sure to stay tuned. New episodes every single Thursday. This is a special case because it's signing day, but yes, new episodes every single Thursday. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week with more things Nebraska Cornhuskers.